Namah Shreyati-Rajaya Vivekananda-Suraye Satchit-Sukha-Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine Swamine Tapaharine. Yes. So I just want to.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening. I just want to go back to something which we discussed yesterday. I hope you are able to see the slide before we move forward. Because I think when we closed, there was a question in Kalartha Karmanam Yogo. What is it that represents karma or daiva? So that is a good point, and a little bit more clarity will be, I think, helpful. So I just wanted to. So you can see Charaka says Buddhi, Kala Buddhindriya Arthana. So here is, sorry, it's Buddhi. And here is Kala. And here are the Indriyartha. Now, how do we know which one can represent our karma? So, actually, it's very simple. Amongst these three, what is in our control? Amongst these three, what is in our control?
Buddhi and Indriya.
Indriya is in our control?
Buddhi is, Buddhi can manipulate to Indriya.
It's not Indriyas, it's Indriyarthas. Indriyarthas is not in our control. Only Buddhi is in our control. And that is why Vagbhada, instead of using the word Buddhi, he uses karma. See, Vagbhada, instead of using Buddhi, Kalartha Karmanam Yogo, he uses Kala, Artha and Karma to show that it is the malfunction of Buddhi that creates our karma. And because of that malfunctioning of Buddhi and wrong karma, we have what is called as Asatmendriyartha Samyoga. See, Asatmendriyartha Samyoga. And Kala is otherwise called Parinama, and this is otherwise called Prajnaparadha. So Prajnaparadha is Dhi Dhridi Smriti Vibhrashtaha, Dhi Bhrashtaha, Buddhi. Karma yat kurudeshbham. Prajnaparadham tam vidyad. So this is how we understand that this part is the cause for, because Kala or Parinama is not in our control. Indriyartha is there, but based on our Buddhi, We can have Samyak Yoga with the Indriyarthas or Asatmya Indriya. Satmya or Asatmya. How does it happen? Through Buddhi. So since Buddhi is the only factor which is in our control, this is the cause for all karma. All Daivam is coming from the malfunctioning of the Buddhi. So that's why I say in Ayurveda, what we need is Arogya Buddhi. If you develop Arogya Buddhi, you will get Arogya. So is that clear? And then yesterday we discussed about Nirvikara Parastvatma Sattva Bhuta Gunendriyai Chaitanya Karanam Nityo Drashta Pashyatihi Kriyaha. So the Atma needs the Sattva Bhuta Guna and Indriya to express, the consciousness. That is why in our tradition, the Supreme Consciousness has to come in a physical form, what we call as an avatar, to express that consciousness. In the pure Atma stage, we cannot, it will not converse, it will not show the signs of consciousness as we experience it. It is all happening through it's all happening through Sattva Bhuta Gunendriyai Chaitanya Karanam. So this is a very important definition. Chaitanyam, what we call as consciousness, is the Atman expressing through Sattva Bhuta Guna and Indriyas. So Atma plus Manas plus Shariram plus Indriya. When all these things come together, there is Chaitanyam. Atma alone is only the cause for Chaitanyam, but that cannot create Chaitanyam by itself. So it is by this theory we say that Atma exists even if the Sharira is destroyed. Only thing is it has no Karana to express that consciousness in our physical plane. There is no more the Karana. Atmatnya Karanair Yogad Jnanam Tvasya Pravartade. Atma is the Jnani, but Jnana Pravartanaya what is needed for Jnana Pravartana? The Karanas are needed. The Karanas include Sattva, Bhuta, Guna and Indriyas. So when the Atma is Yukta with this, then what we see as Chaitanya manifests. I hope this point is clear. Right? So why this explanation is necessary? To tell, because otherwise we will have to understand Atman as just a guna of the Sharira. It is not a guna of the Sharira. Atma, Manas, Indriya and Sharira, when they come together, there is life or Ayus. So even if the Supreme Consciousness were to come down, it will embody in this way to express itself. Avajanandi mam mudhaha manushim tanumashritam param bhavam ajanando mama bhuta maheshwar. So manushim tanumashritam. So if the consciousness descends in according to the Sharira, the consciousness is expressing. So if it is in a Varaha Sharira, the consciousness will express at the level of Varaha only. It is a human being expressing like human. But in human being, consciousness can express also in a superhuman way. But that is why, but you can be confused, that is what Krishna says. Avajanandi mam mudha manushim tanamashritam param bhavam ajanando mama bhuta maheshwaram. So this is a bit tricky, but we need to understand the concept of Atman very clearly, and then we get the understanding why it is considered as a dravya, and why how Nirvikara Atman is the basis of the whole universe. I hope it is clear. Buddhi in Ayurveda is defined as Nischayatmikam. Buddhi Nischayatmika. Manas is always having vikalpa. So Buddhi is jnana only. Nischayatmika Buddhi. It is the decision maker. So without Buddhi, you wouldn't be able to do karma. That is why when you have a decision only, you will act, right? So in Manas, you are undecided. Manas is like a monkey. Vikalpatmaka. This or that, this or that, this or that. So if you don't have Buddhi, you will be finding difficult to execute things. An intelligent person is very good in executing because he quickly arrives at decision. You can see some people they find it very difficult to arrive at a decision because they are in their mind. The mind will say like this, like that. It will show you all possibilities and you don't know what to decide. But Buddhi is Nischayatmika. It will fix on one choice. Is that clear? All that is explained later. All these things are discussed. So now we are coming to the next point, Sharira Manasa Dosha Sangraha. This is now the core teachings of Ayurveda. Vayu Pittam Kaphaschokta Shariro Dosha Sangraha Manasa Punaruddishto Rajaschat Tamayevacha. So the body and mind, if you look at the body and mind, say that the body has 3 doshas and the manas has only 2. So Vayu Pittam Kaphaschoktaha Shariro Dosha Sangraha. So Vayu, Pitta and Kapha are the doshas of the body. Manasa Punaruddishto Rajascha Tama Evacha. So why are these called as doshas? This is very important to understand because when I was also reading and trying to understand Ayurvedic text, this is a doubt that I used to get. Why are the most important constituents of the body called as doshas or sometimes malas? How can malas be the most important constituents of the body? That nomenclature itself is questionable, is it? You are telling here are 3 wastes and they support the body. Then why are you calling them as waste? Why can't you call them as pillars? Do you know what are the 3 stambhas of the body? Upastambhas we know, right? Upastambhas are Ahara, Nidra and Brahmacharyam or Abrahmacharyam according to Vagbhada. What are the main stambhas of the body? They are Vata, Pitta and Kapha. So they are actually the pillars that support the body. But then why are they called as doshas? They are given a very, they are portrayed like the villains of the body. Given a very bad name, bad reputation doshas have. Oh, 3 doshas, they are the problem. Why that word dosha was used? Because we know sometimes doshas are also called as dhatus. Anybody? Yeah, Dushyanti the dosha. Why then, if they are Dushayanti, then why should they become important? Then they should be removed from the body, right? How can they then support the body? So if that's accepted, so Dushayanti the dosha, then why that importance? Is it like because they are villains we must respect them, or what is it? That cannot be. So why the rishis have found this terminology? Yeah, if they can create support, then should that point not be highlighted? Why their faulty part is highlighted? Why their benign aspect is not highlighted? See, in Mahabharata, this is where you have to study other shastras also. Shitoshne chaiva vayuscha traya shariraja gunaha. This is from Mahabharata. Shitoshne chaiva vayuscha traya shariraja gunaha. Only in the Mahabharata, doshas have been referred to as gunas, not as doshas. And this gives us a very important insight that doshas are actually the gunas of the body. Dosha means opposite of guna, right? Guna, dosha. Actually, it means dosha means an undesirable guna, and guna means a desirable guna. So Mahabharata clearly tells that he doesn't use pitta and kapha. Shitoshne chaiva vayus. So for kapha it is shita is used, and for pitta ushna is used, and vayu is the regulator, controller. So it is telling that the three doshas create the internal environment of heat and cold, and their balance for life to manifest. So they are actually gunas. In the ultimate analysis, doshas are gunas, not dravyas. They are the gunas of the body. So they have to be protected from becoming deranged, is it not? See, when I buy some vegetables today, what we do? We will immediately keep it in the refrigerator. Today, everybody is keeping it in the refrigerator. In olden days, that was not there. They used other methods to preserve. Why we want to do that? Because we don't want the qualities of that vegetable to be spoiled, isn't it? If I leave it outside, it will rot. So our body has a tendency to rot if we are not careful. The gunas have a tendency to become doshas. So they have to be protected. Kshayadvriddheriva rakshaniyaha. Yes, it is to tell that the lifeline of the body itself is the fault line. That we have to make sure that the doshas, remain as gunas, as dhatus, as dhatu bhavas. Because if we were to tell the whole thing is to convey the idea that doshas should be protected from getting deranged. They have a tendency to get deranged. And once they get deranged, everything else in the body will also get deranged. That is their importance. They are the first things to get disturbed. If they are not disturbed, then it is very difficult to disturb the body. This is how the disease happens. Nidana dosha dushyanam viparitam hitam dhruvam. Now suppose a nidana is coming. You are getting exposed to a nidana. Now that nidana cannot cause a disease until it is able to disturb a dosha. And even if the dosha is disturbed, it cannot cause a disease unless there is dosha dushya samurchana. So there are two steps in the formation of disease. So suppose even a virus comes into our body, it cannot always cause a disease. It has to first disturb the doshas. This is very, very clearly mentioned. That dosha dushti happens later. And if dosha dushti doesn't happen, then the disease, the agandu disease will not become nija vigaran. So nidana, dosha and dushya. So in Ayurveda, we are telling that if you can keep, this is the power of rasayana, if you can keep your dhatus very strong, doshas can also cause a disease only if there is a weakness in the dhatu. So if you keep your dhatus very stable and strong, even if there is a dosha vaishamya, it will not translate into dosha doshya samurcha. If you are following proper dinacharya and ritucharya, then nidanas cannot disturb your doshas.
Excuse me, sir. Dosha dushya means?
Doshya is the dhatu. That which gets disturbed by the dosha is the dhatu.
Okay. Thank you.
So what is happening is that the body is continuously being influenced. You have to listen to this a bit carefully. This is now we are going to the tough part of Ayurveda. It's not so entertaining. This is the core, technical concepts. What all we discussed now was little light philosophy in one way. It's a little fun to understand, learn. But here it is very, very technical. So if we are not very careful and focused, it may just go above our heads. See, Shita, Ushna, all things are continuously changing in the environment, right? Accordingly, an impact is happening in the body. So when there is some Shita, Ruksha Guna coming, I know all of you are not having an Ayurveda background. Nidana, okay. Nidana means the cause, an etiological factor, a provoking factor. Now I take ice cream. 5 people took ice cream. One person started sneezing. Other 5 are moving around happily. Why? Everybody had the same ice cream, but one person starts sneezing, his nose becomes blocked, starting coughing. Other 4 are happily going around. So all of them got exposed to the same ice cream. Or let us see, out of 5, one person got severe sneezing, this thing, and after a little while he became okay. Another person got the same thing, but next day we heard he has fever and is, bedridden. But 3 people escaped. Why is this happening? So for the 3 people, even though there was an exposure to Shita Ruksha, it couldn't provoke Vata Kopa. So that ice cream is having the capability of disturbing Vata and Kapha together. It has that potential. But in everybody, it need not create it. So just because there is a nidana or a cause doesn't mean that there will always be a dosha kopa. This is like saying that even everybody smoking will not get lung cancer, but your chance of getting lung cancer is high if you repeatedly smoke. So ice creams once in a while may not be able to create any problem, but if you become habituated to it, you take it in the wrong time on a very cold morning when you are exposed to the outside, So your body's resistance, because when the Shita-Ruksha condition comes inside, when you are taking an ice cream, the body is trying to do. Now ice cream is Shita and Ruksha, cold and dry. So it is cold and dry. So what will the body do? The body will immediately balance. It will make you in your internal environment hot and moist. If the body succeeds in doing this, because now pitta will, if little pitta increases, it can balance this heat and cold. So if my body is strong enough, it is very flexible. Whenever I take an ice cream, my body is creating an opposite reaction. It will cancel that effect of the ice cream. So the net result is balance inside. But if my body is not able to generate that heat and moistness to oppose the effect of ice cream, then what happens? My vata and kapha will increase. So this happens especially if you are not leading a normal, a healthy life. If your lifestyle is not good, your diet is not good, then your body's systems are compromised. Are you able to follow what I'm saying? So even when tobacco comes in or something comes once in a while, your body is a lot of time compensating for it. Otherwise, we would have all fallen sick. See, it's a very robust system. The three doshas are continuous. Why the three doshas are there is to keep adjusting the body. They are doing this gymnastics. So when heat comes, the body will make it cold. When cold comes, the body will make it heat. If there is dryness, your body will adjust and make it moist. If there is moistness, the body will make it dry. Such a person is a healthy person whose doshas are able to do this gymnastics. So dosha samyam, that is why we say if the doshas are really balancing itself, you can never become sick. Rogastu dosha vaishamyam. If the nidana succeeds, so how do you keep the doshas in balance? By following dinacharya, by following ritucharya, by following matravadaharam, and by not subjecting yourself to mental stress. Why is that important? Because when you are violating your lifestyle, when you are violating your diet, or when you are under mental stress, the dosha is already trying to compensate. It is busy adjusting to something else. See, when I am standing in front of my house door and protecting, guarding. But if something happens inside, I will run inside and try to correct that, right? At that time, somebody will come through the front door and enter into my house. So don't make doshas busy. If you are leading an unhealthy life, yes. That is a hyper reaction. When vata and kapha, first it will create coldness. So the body trying to compensate that coldness will produce fever. And it is a hyper reaction. So after some time only it will come fever. First what you will feel is chillness, hoarseness in the throat, phlegm coming out. It can later go into fever. Vata and kapha, see, because vata and kapha is increased, the body is trying to compensate. That is how the fever comes. Fever is a secondary reaction. I hope you got the idea that when you do ahita ahara or vihara, when you follow unhealthy lifestyle or diet, it means you are keeping the doshas occupied. Dosha is trying to always compensate for your bad diet, compensate for your bad lifestyle. So if you have not slept at all in the night, already there is so much of ruksha in the body, and at that time you are going and taking an ice cream, your body won't be able to compensate. So we say keep the doshas always alert and happy. That is why Dinacharya and Rutucharya is mentioned. So when you do this, and once in a while doing dosha shuddhi, so this is the reason why the doshas are said to be, they are called doshas because they have this tendency to go out of order because they are continuously being influenced by external circumstances. And when they are influenced, they are trying to adjust. And when they are not able to adjust, they break down. And when they break down, then the process of disease starts. So Vayu Pittam, and now some thoughts about what are these doshas. Did you get this point? Is it clear? Any questions? Okay. Now the question is, what are the doshas? This is a question that we will take the whole Samhita to answer. So don't expect a complete answer now. We have to get introduced to the doshas in many places, in many ways, before we understand, get even an idea of what the doshas are. But we can try to begin to understand. Many people, when they study Ayurveda, they want an immediate explanation of what is dosha. Acharya say no, it's a complex entity, it is multifaceted. So when you keep getting introduced, it's like a difficult person, you don't know. You cannot judge by one look. You cannot judge what a dosha is by listening to this concept once. I won't be surprised if when you hear the definition of dosha first, you may get confused. But it is good to get confused because confusion means you are beginning to think. You must hold on to that confusion and gradually a clarity will come. Right? So what I'm going to say may not completely give the answers. But as the next verses come, there will be more clarity. But first, what we have to learn about the dosha is to go into their root meaning. Anybody knows what is the Sanskrit root from which Vayu or Vata is formed? Inugadau for Ayuhu, or
So, ba, root
yes,
ba gatau.
only Gata. So it is Va Gati Ganthanayu. Gati and Gandhana. So actually it means that Vata is responsible for motor and sensory responses. Vata is that which enables us to sense stimuli and respond to it. So Vata is the body's stimulus response system. Vagati Gandhanayo. Gati is the motor function, Gandhana is the sensory function. So this is the problem when we study Ayurveda. We are not going deep into the Sanskrit roots. That is why the meaning is not getting clear. We'll immediately translate air, bile and phlegm. You look at any English textbook, that is how they will write. Air, bile and phlegm are the faults of the body. Or now they call it as humors of the body. What is humor? What do they mean by dosha? It's a very humorous statement actually. Doesn't mean anything. Dosha is not a humor. Humor is some Greek medical concept of fluids in the body. That is not how Ayurveda has looked at the doshas. So we need to understand that Vayu means the continuous. It is every part of our body is continuously sensing, responding, sensing, responding. It is the whole sensory response system in the body. Because of Vata, we are able to sense there is heat. When somebody comes and stands behind me, I will immediately sense and turn my head. Is it not? If I hear a sound, I'm immediately responding. So it is Gandhana and Gati. I'm moving. So this is a sign of life. So Vayu is Gati, Gandhanayo. Pittam is anybody?
There is tap santape.
Tapa Santape. Pittam is Santapa. But it is controlled Santapa. That is why it is called Santapa. What does Santapa mean? Samtapa. It's
Means creating or burning sensation.
some disturbance. I couldn't hear. Some disturbance was there.
Samyak tapaha.
Yes. So Pitta is Jala plus Agni. So it is producing that controlled heat in which all the transformations in the body can happen. So Vata ensures that we have an intelligent system that can sense and respond to the environment. So this is how the regulation happens in the body. First and foremost, what we need is the ability to sense what is around us and then respond to what is around us. Right? And Pitta then allows us to transform things. Everything is in a flux. Nothing can remain as it is. Whenever I see, when I sense what is outside and I start responding, my body is transforming. Without that transformation, the food that I eat has to be transformed. I need energy to move around. For that, transformation is needed. So your body is continuously in a state of transformation or paka. And that is what Pitta is allowing to do. And in fact, this Santapa is very explosive, very, is very profound. And that is where Kapha comes in. Kapha means, anybody knows what is the Sanskrit of Kapha, the root derivation of Kapha?
Sir, it's Kena Jalena Palatiti Kappa.
Very good, very good. Who said that? Who gave that answer?
Sir, Rippy.
Oh, very good.
Rippy.
Very good, very good. You are update with all these things. So, Kena Jalena Phalati. See, when you look at Kapha, see, you must understand that what Ayurveda is telling is that life, this whole process is happening underwater, inside water. It is true that if we jump into a pond and drink water, we will drown. But if you look at our body, it's 2/3 water. Kena Jalena Phalati. The whole life is coming to fruit because of water only. What you call as protoplasm, cytoplasm, intracellular, extracellular, interstitial fluids. Our whole body is bathed in water. Kena Jalena Phalati. It is inside this water that the explosion of Pitta happens, producing that energy. If there was no Jala in your system, that is why dehydration is such a issue. That is why even today doctors are telling, drink water. How many liters you must drink a day? Just imagine what all is happening to that water that you are taking. Yes, at least 3 liters on an average you have to keep drinking. Every now and then we are all going with a water bottle in our hand. Do we think of kapha? No. We are continuously pouring in that kapha into our body because that kapha is evaporating due to the all these dramatics of pitta and vata. The moment you drink the water, it all disappears. And again we have to drink. That is why it is told in our text, Paniyam Praninam Pranaha Vishwamevahi Tanmayam. Paniyam praninam pranaha vishwamevahi tanmayam. So much of water is needed in the body that we are stocking 2/3 of our body with water. Pranodaka annavahini srotamsi. Have you heard? Pranavaha srotas, Udagavaha srotas, and Annavaha srotas. So after prana, what the body needs most is water, Udagam. Then comes Annam. So Pranodaka annavahini srotamsi also, you can see that in Pranavaha srotas, Vata is functioning. In Udagavaha srotas, Kapha is functioning. And in Annavaha srotas, Pitta is functioning. Because Anna needs to be transformed. These are three requirements. Nature provides the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the food that we eat. And another term for kapha, another synonym of kapha, anybody knows?
Shleshma, sir.
Shleshma.
What does it mean? How is it derived? Shleshma. Every
Shlesh
word.
Alingan.
What does that? Shlish Alingana. Very good. Ripi is very Sanskrit based. She's remembering all the derivations. Very happy to hear that. So Shlish Alingane. Shlish Alingane means to embrace, to hold together. So it is kapha that holds this whole body together. It prevents the whole body from getting exploded. You know, if you go into a cell, you can see this Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. If you go into the cell, you can see the cell, single cell. If you study.
Okay, I found this on the web for the cell. Check it out.
Oh my God. That is Siri trying to answer me. So, Shlish Alingane means that which holds everything together. Shleshaka Kapha. It prevents things from disintegrating and separating. It holds and keeps things together. So the entire body is connected in this watery medium. Nothing is separated. That is why if you put a drop of poison in one part of the body, that is how when I inject something on one portion of my skin, it reaches everywhere. How? Rasayanihi prapadyashu. It will reach the rasayanis. Rasa is the watery element also. And it is aharahar gacchati tyatopi rasaha. Aharahar gacchati. It is continuously moving everywhere in the body. Every part of the body is connected through this watery element. So we have to really analyze the words in Sanskrit, and then that imagination opens. Your idea of the body will change just by studying these three words, you know. See, that is the reason why when we administer medicines, they are administering it into the blood even today, an injection. If you want it to reach everywhere, what you do? Fast acting medicine is a injection. We are putting it into the watery medium of the body. And we know that once it reaches that watery medium, it will spread everywhere very quickly. Is it not? If you take a medicine as a tablet, it has to get digested. It will take time before it enters into the bloodstream and then connects to this watery medium of the body. Once it connects, then it will reach everywhere. So kapha is that which, keeps the entire body connected. And so Ayurveda knew that life originated in water. Do you know where this is mentioned in the Vedas, that life originated in water? No? Do you know Purusha Suktam? So can you remember that section from Purusha Suktam which says how life emerged from water? Adhyasambhudaha. Adhyasambhuda Prithivya Rasat Cha. So it is when Prithvi dissolves in water and the chemical reactions of Pitta happens because sun, that is the Pitta there. Prithvi and Jala mixing together, and in the presence of sunlight, the heat coming inside, that magical moment arises when suddenly there is Vagadi Gandhanayo. See, it's a random action. You can just see certain chemicals mixing in water, in a watery medium. A soup is happening, a soup is being made. And into that soup comes the sun rays. Sun rays falls into that. The first photosynthesis is happening. And then suddenly it just bursts into life. Vata manifests. And then it becomes a living structure. You can see how Tridosha has happened. Adhya Sambhuda Prithivya Rasatcha. So that is why in Ayurveda also it is mentioned. Tasya Adhishtanam Prithvi Yoni Rudagam Vayu Agni Nabhasam Samavayataha. Udagam is Yoni, the source of life. So are you able to visualize the Tridoshas and see, trace it to the origin of life? That is why we say Kapha is Prithvi and Jala together. It is Jala more and little Prithvi. The essence of Prithvi, when it dissolves in water, the organic compounds are created that support life, the amino acids, all those things. They have tried to make this in test tubes, the initial mixture of life. They have succeeded in making it, but somehow there is how to crank it into life. Scientists are not knowing. The sun rays falls on this. This idea is also there. That is why we say Arogyam Bhaskara Adichet. Adityasya Namaskaram Yo Kurvanti Dine Dine. So they will not get disease even in 1,000 Janmas. So it is told that Visargadana Vikshepaihi Somasuryanila yatha Dharayandi Jagad Deham Vatapitta Kabhastatha. Visarga Adana Vikshepaihi. So this natural phenomenon of how life first emerged, that is reflected in this idea of the Tridoshas. Kena Jalena Halati. So first, even when we are cooking, this is happening, right? We take the physical substances, we chop them and we put it in a lot of water, right? And then we light the fire. So life was literally cooked in water and emerged. And then we control the fire so that the cooking becomes complete. And then that is how we are cooking food. In the same way, life, that is the Tridoshas. So in our body, we say that Tridoshas are present, Kapha on top, Pitta in the middle, and Vata below. Now this itself is mysterious. How can Kapha, which is... So our body is defying gravity. Kapha should be down, is it not? How can Vata be down? Kapha is the heaviest and it is in the head. Vata is the lightest and it is in the legs. How is that possible? How is the body defying? So the arrangement is that why is Vata down? Because middle is fire. So when if you want to blow the fire, it has to be from down, isn't it? From down the fire is blown, and from top the water is preventing the fire. It's like the radiator in your car. So that too much heat is not happening. Kapha is kept on the top, so that Vata can continuously blow the fire and prevent Kapha from killing it. So this is a very delicate balance. Vata can, if Vata, Tejas Sahajara Kupyed, Vata is called as a Tejas Sahajara. If Vata aggravates a lot, then fire can become very strong. So Kapha is controlling it. So the body is balanced in such a way that Jala does not destroy Agni, and Vata is always constantly propelling it. But now my question is, how did Kapha go to the top of the body? How is that even possible? Should not all the water accumulate in your feet? It does happen sometimes when you have disease. That's not a good sign. If you, in elephantiasis, you can see that. In cardiovascular disease, you can see it. Sit now. Your legs will become very swollen. Kapha is, by gravity, it is coming down. So it means somehow our body is defying gravity and making all the kapha stay on top, which is very essential. If kapha doesn't stay on top, you get so many problems, like your brain gets damaged, you get Alzheimer's, dementia. In old age, vata is aggravating in the upper part of your body. So how is this maintained? How can you maintain this? By exploring this question, we will conclude our discussion today. But I want to hear your suggestion. How is it that Vata is managing to keep itself on top? Kapha, sorry, not Kapha, Vata is on top. Like in evaporation, water goes up on heating. Okay. If water evaporates and goes, then it won't be there. It will all, go away. It's a good attempt. What I've understood is that it is due to what we call as capillary action. Capillary action? Our body is made up of macro and micro spaces, a network of srotases. Stula Mula Susukshma Graha. So it becomes like a capillary. The srotases are very, very narrow. So in a capillary, if you put water, there is something called as capillary action. The water will go up. Please read about capillary action. So in our body also, for that to keep, that is why we say Srota Shuddhi is so important in Ayurveda. We have to keep our srotas as clean, so that this capillary action will function. As you get old, your srotas has become clogged. Is that clear? So that's why in Ayurveda we recommend deep cleansing.
So does it mean srotasas are interstitial spaces or
Everything.
vessels?
Srotas are, minute pores in the body. The body is designed in such a way that the big spaces are narrowing and going into smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So there is a pressure, and because, of course, this is assisted by the pumping of the heart. This whole process is assisted by the pumping of the heart. And that is why in cardiovascular diseases, when the pumping becomes less, the entire water starts coming and accumulating in the feet.
The lymphatics are there.
Yeah, everything is there. But the body is designed, your Sukshma Srotas should be open and clear for both prana and jala to travel and complete this circuit. If you are healthy, all the good kapha in your body will be in the head region. If you can maintain good srota shuddhi in your, so we are using many rasayanas for that, like shilajadu. Shilajadu is very good for shobha and all those things. Punarnava, all these subtle medicines can clear up the srota system in the body. So in Caraka-Saṁhitā Sroto Vimanam, if you read, you will understand the concept of capillary action. There is the view that the body is nothing but the srotas, minute srotas. Everywhere there is a space. So the Acharya is telling, oh, this body is nothing but srotas. Then there is a discussion saying the body is not just the srotas, but what occupies the srotas also. So which means a body is actually a network of spaces, a network of macro spaces, which is gradually going into micro spaces, into nano, dimension. So from macro to micro. Now cleaning the macro spaces is generally easy, but cleaning micro spaces is not so easy. So all our problems that we see when we are doing massage, all pranayama, when we do shodhana, panchakarma shuddhi, we are cleaning the macro spaces. And when we are doing massage, dhara, good clinicians are actually feeling the body, feeling all the knots and clearing it so that the srotas movement happens very well. Then when your physical body is cleaned to some extent, then you are ready for pranayama. And through pranayama, you can open your minor srotas also. And when all these spaces are kept open, this is called srota shuddhi. Here, vata is in the lower limbs because that is the place of all your strong muscles are in your lower limbs. It's a point of locomotion. That is why the more we walk with our legs, actually vata is in the intestines. That is the real seat of vata. The limbs are also because our strongest muscles, like the deltoid, the quadriceps. In the leg, there is what you call as a peripheral heart. There are two muscles, calf muscles are called as the peripheral heart. There is a study which has shown that you can reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease like heart failure if you do leg strengthening exercises. Many times we do hand strengthening exercises. I've seen people doing more. But leg strengthening exercise is very, very good to prevent cardiovascular disease. You can reduce the risk by 41%. Because if your heart in the feet, running is the best exercise. Walking, according to WHO, is the best exercise. If you must walk 30 minutes, 40 minutes every day. So the lower limbs are the seat of vata because it is that with which we are moving around. So as we move, the vata increases. So it is like the stimulus for vata. The more we walk, the more the vata becomes active in your system. You can see that if you walk a lot, you will find it awakens your mind everywhere. A positive. Only if you overwork and overexert, you can see that also. You get exhausted, you get other over vata symptoms. But if you walk adequately, it is today considered to be even very good for mental health. because your vata will be balanced and stimulated. So that is why we consider the lower limbs to be the seat of vata. And hands also, when you walk, you must swing your hands and walk. That also brings in, because this walking is very rhythmic. So when you walk and do this exercise, your vata becomes very harmonic and rhythmic. Walking is very rhythmic. Today, your wearables can tell you whether your walking is rhythmic or not, whether you are keeping proper strides, steps. So you cannot walk in an unrhythmic way, right? Walking is always in a rhythmic way. So because of that rhythmic action, it has a positive effect on vata. Okay, so I think there is still more to discuss. I hope you got some insight. We are beginning to open the Pandora's box of the doshas. So many things to understand, but I hope that by looking at the Sanskrit derivation of these words, we are able to get a little bit more deeper insight. We'll continue our discussion tomorrow. Namaste.
स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। रामकृष्णाय ते नमः।